Hi Sagittarius. This is your May 2025 Taurus season reading. I'm Susan, your intuitive, for astrology and tarot. Let's get right into your love. This is for love and money. Love first. Love first. Sagittarius risings will talk a little bit to you and to your houses, but this is for sun, moon, and risings. Okay, we got few cards just like popping out in all directions. So this card was out first, second. All right, so we have Nine of Cups, Two of Cups, Eight of Pentacles, Nine of Wands, Nine of Wands. So 9 being the theme, it's death, rebirth, change, humanitarian, which and like loving of pets, I feel like that's something major with a theme in Sagittarius, is whether you have them or not, you love. There's a kinship you find to animals. Take that or leave that. Either way, for love, this is you being very clear, maybe raw and vulnerable with how much you've worked on recognizing that it's not about what you've been, it's not about the situations you've been given and becoming content with them. It's about not settling and choosing this. Mars and Leo's like, this is about commitment in a deep way, devotion. And that doesn't matter what that looks like, but there's one person or one specific kind of energy that you want to put out there. And for some of you, you've been maybe even defaulting to, this is something I had written down about lovers and friends, and this is just about romance and relationships as well in general. So first of all, I'd like to tell you that, 9 too, in your 9th house. Mars is in your 9th house right now for Sag risings. Either way, sometimes it is for the best that you, of course, you want to develop a relationship, and now take this or leave this, of course. Sometimes the way we develop relationships is through friendship, but it's really important to not forget to involve the romance. Maybe to your other relationships, your friendships, you're closed off to that, even though you leave the door slightly open. But sometimes that comfort of friendship almost takes precedent over the romance. And not that you need like this extravagant romance, like whatever your romance is, those gestures and those important like notions in romantic relationships or partnerships, or if you're single looking to date, is really important to allow yourself, especially if you've been uncomfortable with that before, because that's where like the friendships, you can have great friendships, but that exploring the romantic and the pleasure energy, all of that is a part of knowing if you're compatible or not, is a part of knowing if, and it's not a part of knowing like if this person's for you, but it's a part of the exploration of being with someone, committing yourself to someone. And through Venus and Pisces, you've discovered your value more and more through the connections you choose to have and the ones you choose to keep around. If you're in a relationship, this is you have needed maybe a lot more alone time than normal to reestablish or notice, especially now that Venus has moved into Aries, especially if you're open and ready, the clarity is going to hit over and over again of what this content, or I'm gonna just see how I can deal with this kind of attitude, perhaps was a type of protection, but really it was you avoiding what you really needed to see. And in between this time, you've realized that you're not the same person and you can't operate that way any longer. So what would it look like to commit to yourself? If you're in a relationship, you may have needed to take some time to yourself. And if you're single, perhaps you've been doing a lot of dating yourself or doing things one-on-one. And it's possible that your head's been down for a while and you found yourself there, and then that became a part of the protection. And it's okay, of course. Mars being in Cancer for a while, you had a lot to work through. There's a lot of, everyone had their own parental issues or things come up. And what I've noticed, whether you recognize this or not, or noticing in this energy, is that water energy brings shit up internally and brings it to the surface. And if you pay attention, you'll see it in your life and you'll be able to make the connections and do what you can. But then when it moves into fire, when things move into the fire signs, that's when the situations arise. Whether they're simply your thoughts with yourself, the way that you handle yourself, which translates from parenting and translates from that Mars in Cancer, and how that shows up situationally in your relationships, whether they be friendships or romantic. And you've been exploring perhaps a lot of the depth of how you've presented things, whether it be casual or not, or is there something about not allowing things to go through their natural process? Because if you notice spring, right? And we're in between the Taurus and Scorpio. Let me just put these on for you. The Taurus and Scorpio axis of the moons, which are both the axis of death. We only think of Scorpio being the death, and it is. It's like the true death card, which also pertains to Pluto slightly. It's the death sign. But what we don't realize, or what Taurus season will come in with a bang to remind us, is that Taurus is like, I kill winter. This is spring. This is the death of winter, the heaviest season. Let me remind you of that as your fellow physically strong sign, right? Next to you, we have Taurus and Aries, which would come around next, but you are the strongest and you can handle what you're moving through because at some point it provided to you. It provided some kind of nurturance to your ego or what you desired at one point, and now there may be a deeper exploration. So if you've just been dating or if you've been with someone but keeping it more casual, the more that you're accepted no matter where you're at, just like you can provide for others, that's how you know to keep going, right? There's this learning, this easiness of, it's not always about the fight and the chase for something to become something else. It's also like, will this person work with your boundaries or work with your timing and work with your patience, as well as you working with them? And will you follow through with it? Like if you set the boundary of like, okay, we're not going to be sexual until this, or if we are friends, like the romance has to be brought in a little bit, or whatever it is that wherever it is that you're at now with dating, with if you're partnered, it's how you bring in who you're becoming, how you communicate that as well is really important, because you need to, and it might be vulnerable to do so, but now is the perfect time to reveal your heart, to show yourself in a way that's maybe demanding a certain kind of attention or respect. And if you are in a relationship, that could be to reviving or exploring or renewing the relationship and committing to each other to see it as the beginning, which I heard today, which was really cool, that, before like any drastic decisions are made, can you explore it being like the beginning or a new beginning together? And I'm going to use this Kabbalah terminology of evil eyeing. Can you not evil eye each other? What does that mean? It means sometimes we assume the person to continue this pattern, and even if they do, we like to, and this is just one way of describing it, we like to remind them, like, oh, of course you do that, or, whatever your way of going about this is. It doesn't have to be that specifically. It's, even if they do repeat the pattern a few more times before things can shift and change, including yourself, and you holding your boundary of not allowing the other person to steamroll you in this way either, calling out the evil eye if the other person doesn't see it, so that you can allow each other to grow in this way that you've already set the intention, and now you're just keeping each other accountable, and it's how you choose to, and eventually, like you love, it will become funny. But there are things that are just needing the proper attention at this time, and you are wanting to give them that, give that to yourself, give that to someone who of course respects you, but also deepen this relationship with romance, with pleasure, with creativity in your already existing relationship. Or if you are single, you're ready to explore that once again, and taking that slow. Like, you like to take certain things slow, and this is where it's important to take things slow, but also give it the attention that you really do want, not waiting for this moment, but allowing it openly in the beginning. And you have been chipping away at this big shift in your life. Like, it's not just something that happens overnight. It's something that you rediscover through different areas. And I would hope that you're proud of yourself, Sagittarius. This is something like you're moving through like an ice block almost, and a part of you that you didn't realize needed some heat, needed some love, needed some attention. And now you're really beginning to see the depth of this experience and what it looks like to come alive in this way that maybe you didn't even know. And this is the biggest thing. You just didn't know. You didn't know that you were experiencing this until okay? So before we get to this money section, all information to work with me one-on-one is below. My schedule, my website, my payment options, as well as the Patreon link. So if you're curious to get more in depth into what we're talking about with love and money, your relationship, your connections at this time, that will be in the Patreon link. That's a direct link. And if you do become a member, everything goes to your email, even this. So check it out. I'm going to take a sip, and we'll get right to the Five of Wands and the Devil. I was about to say the Capricorn card, but we'll talk about the Devil. You may have your hands in many different places right now, and you may need to reassess. It looks like there's a lot going on, and that might not be a good thing, but no, it might be a great thing. Excuse me. It seems like a great thing because your material sourcing of life is perhaps abundant. However, it's about time. Saturn, which is the Devil, is also a time card. So the time that you're spending maybe needs to become a little bit more efficient. If you're not a proponent of writing things down, I would highly recommend writing down what you would like to accomplish for the day, and then going about your energy levels depending on your health and what you need that day, or whatever cycle you're in, to adjust to yourself and not put a control over your time. Pay attention to that. There also, if you're in a more constricting financial relationship at this point, and you're learning more and more, because you are a Jupiter ruled sign, so luck, extravagance, sometimes expansion, and then you're also, Jupiter is also the planet of the teacher. So you're constantly learning about excess versus excess versus constriction to a certain capacity in your life. And it's something that you can have the potential to master, of course. And perhaps you already have, right? Maybe you have a Capricorn degree or Capricorn placements and you've gotten really good at whatever this experience is with money or finances in your life, or even career, and even just your energy. But this is a lot about your energy as well, and how it compares and contrasts at this time. You may want to take more of a Saturnian approach, a more Capricorn approach to what is happening. Is you want to do a lot, and you can, but your energy requires maybe more efficiency for you to get done what you want to get done in the timeline you'd like to do it. And Saturn says, well, let's break this down to a matter of importance and your energy. Capricorn says, let's constrict anywhere in your life where you are spending unnecessary energy. So maybe you're on your phone a lot, or you have relationships to keep up with, but right now you need to maybe send out a mass text saying, hey, love you, or as people get in touch with you, you may need to take some time to reassess what's valuable to you right now, what connections are really important to maintain like on a regular basis right now, and which ones, can stand the test of time and maybe need a little bit more space. So for Sag risings, Pluto moved from your second house to your third house. This is a reassessment because of your self-worth and your resources and your talents, and anything that was constricted is now open for possibility, and it's time to communicate what it is that you feel very secure about. So if you've been contemplating a raise or if you've been asked to do a certain job, or to change jobs, or to be promoted or in some kind of capacity, and they've given you an offer, and you want to change, and you'd like more money, or you'd like to enter a different direction, but you actually were thinking of something else. Now is the time to be open and communicate your desires to whomever is approaching you or asking you, especially if there is a Capricorn involved, or if this is a place where you want to climb the ladder, or if you're looking for something new. Now is a great time to be open, because there is a strong sense of change in your evolution, or you've been doing a skill and you're just getting better, so you feel like you're worth more. There will be just this overwhelming understanding from whomever you're speaking to. It seems like it will be received very well and also reciprocated, especially if you're approaching it in a way where it's like, hey, yeah, this is, and then and you have examples and you give examples, maybe they don't even ask that of you, but you have that in mind just in case, because there's a discernment about this area of your life that is becoming extremely secure. And it's a reminder in your love life, right? There's this play with love and money. So it's a reminder in your love life, and it's also teaching you that, right? There's that beauty of luck, where wherever you have luck in your life, maybe it is in money, you get to learn from it in a point of view of a relationship or your relationships. There are also perhaps many reminders at this time as you move forward into a space of feeling a lot more, even more secure, not realizing where you weren't. It's like trying different workouts. Like I strength train, and I do Pilates, and I do yoga, and I like to try different things, and you see how anything you do tests a different muscle group. And that's just an example. And trust, security, it's all a muscle, mental muscles. there's not many swords out except for this King of Swords at the bottom. So it's a lot about your energy this month. It's a lot about checking. It's a fire sign month, so it's a lot about checking in on burnout, and that is really where your source of worthiness is nothing is worth burning out for. No one is worth changing your schedule 100 times. It's important to keep in touch about flexibility and those changes, of course. But for example, if you're starting off a romantic relationship, I learned this recently and I feel inclined to share this with you, is that don't change your whole life for this person. Keep your normal schedule. Keep your normal schedule. Still do things with your friends if that's on your schedule. Still do, if you have a hobby or a side business, there's a class you take once a week. Don't change that for someone else unless like scheduling is an issue, of course. But then there's the question of timing, right? Maybe you're patient. You're saying, well, let's check in again in a couple weeks if you're really still interested. It's like, I hate to compare it to this sometimes, but it's like seeing something you like at the store or you might want to try, but you're not really sure about it yet. So you wait and see if you think about it again in a few days, because that's what Venus and Aries energy is. It's going to bring in very passionate, romantic, creative. If you work with children at all, there is just something very natural coming out of you, like this energy exuding out of you at this time that's going to pull a lot towards you. And it may be nice, of course, having that attention is very, very nice, but notice, is it filling attention? Is it filling a space? Or is it just something that is happening because you're feeling great? And that's, if you meet someone in that energy, or maybe you just switch it in a moment, you're noticing oh, I'm feeling this, but then you switch it and then all of a sudden the relationship switches and maybe, you're not even that into him or her. And maybe you're actually super into each other or them, whatever your preference may be, or you know what I mean. So that whatever happens in that interaction and whatever you remember and whatever is meant to be, and whatever's not, you can try again and explore. So a lot of room for exploration, of working through any controls and controlling around your worth is exercised in your relationship and your energetical levels and how well you're paying attention to that level, because things will, this month, emotionally and mentally, things will run smooth if your energy levels are being recognized, communicated, and checked in on day to day, hour to hour, whatever you want to do, because that is the approach you're taking right now, and that is the discernment you may need to do what you need to do and be who you're meant to be at this time, Sagittarius. This is you working through some of these struggles that you have with energy and why you can be seen as a flaky sign or a sign that changes, but you also are mutable. So this growth in mutable fire, figuring out your energy levels and where you'd like to direct this energy, is actually what friends, true relationships, friends, romance, partnerships that you're in life, they'll understand your changes because they are about you. And if you can't give that energy, and sometimes you can pull from it and you just have to show up, of course, and you want to move through it. But then there are times where the strong one needs a rest. There is a time where you'll show up better if you just have a few hours to yourself or a day, right? So all of this applies. All of it. This was a long one, but we'll see you in the next part. The links are below, Sagittarius. We'll see you next time.